What's good, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of Conversation Piece, the podcast about the missing pieces of the conversations we're having right here in Indianapolis. My name is Patrick. I am your host, and I am so excited to be here with you today for episode 103. The reason I'm excited is because my guest is amazing. While he is a man of many nicknames, he is one of one. He's a hooper, a food lover, a mogul. He is also an operations agent for Southwest Airlines, as well as a fellow podcaster, hosting one of the top shows in all of Indianapolis, Follow D-Money Podcast. We've been trying to make this happen for a minute now, so I'm not going to tarry any further. We're going to get right into it. It is my honor and privilege to welcome Duane "Stretch" Thalley to the show. What's going on, bro?
Man, I listened to your podcast, and actually accepting one of your intros is amazing.
Oh, thank you for that. I appreciate that.
You do a lot of your homework with that. So,
well, the guest makes it easy because you've done so many incredible things. So it's hard to actually fit it all into one thing to shout you out, because that would take up 30 minutes of an episode.
That's dope, man. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. I appreciate you being here. I did just give you a little bit of that introduction, but for folks who might be watching or listening who don't know who you are, do you mind sharing just a little bit more?
Yeah, my name is Stretch Thalley. Government name is Duane. I came from Los Angeles, California to Indianapolis to start a family. And the reason why I'm here really is because there was a point in my life where I stepped out of my comfort zone and became a figure in the community that I was a part of. I started a podcast, and I allowed myself to be out there for people to see and for my voice to be heard. So that's the reason why people know who I am. Other than that, I'm just a very humble, educated, and hardworking dude at whatever I do.
For sure.
That's it.
I appreciate you saying humble, because I think it's interesting that you're like, people know me now because of the podcast and when I became a figure. But I feel like when you started to do that, people already knew you because of the sports that you played, but also like you had been doing something to make connections and to build relationships to be able to then be like, I'm going to tap into this network of people to start this show. I was listening to another podcast that you were on, and you talked about one of your friends was like, hey, you should do something a little bit more regular with these conversations that we have. Right. And you said you stepped out of that comfort zone. Can you talk about like that moment and when you first sat down at the mic and were like, okay, let's see what this is about? Yeah,
so the conversations that started my podcast were around the uprising movement, the George Floyd, 2020, around that time. And I was having a lot of conversations with people who weren't people of color and I have this gift to where I can talk to people about difficult situations or difficult subjects, and they receive it well. And I was having this conversation with a friend, and he asked me if I was down to start a podcast. At the time, I never even listened to podcasts. I didn't listen to them. But I was interested in having conversations that other people can listen to, because I, too, would learn things from people who ask me difficult questions.
Right.
Like we can learn from the things that people don't know.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And you mentioned the building my network before I had an actual voice, in my opinion. I always think it's important that we show up no matter what. Like if there's people in your life that are doing things and they are passionate about it, I think our presence is very important. So what I've been doing, and Gary Brackett, we just talked about Gary, but Gary mentioned at one of my events one time that you build your well. Like you build a well, and then once it's built, then you start to draw water from it. You know, so I was building relationships, showing up, just being a man of character to the people that were around me, and the moment came that I wanted to do something, and it was start a podcast. And immediately I just had like a small following of people that either trusted me or, were appreciative of my presence in their life. So, that's kind of like how you build before you actually start to live into something.
I love the well metaphor because I think a lot of times we can put like the cart before the horse, and we can we'll be paling the water out, but there's no like structure for us to make sure that we can continue to get the water. It just seeps out everywhere, and we lose a lot more than what we could have gained if we would have been patient and built that structure up. I like what you said about this. One of your skill sets being this ability to have difficult conversations and people receive it.
Right.
I think that comes through on the podcast itself. And I was wondering, how do you develop that skill? When do you realize that's something that you were even interested in being a part of, like having those conversations? Because I know plenty of people that run from something like that.
Right. That's an amazing question because that comes with maturity. I didn't have that skill always. And putting myself in different environments, surrounding myself with different mindsets, and being a person who is very compassionate allows me to develop a skill that is important to me, because if I'm passionate about something, I need to be able to explain to you why I'm passionate about it. Yeah. And that's what I feel. A lot of people don't take the time to make sure that you care about something for a reason. I care about something because of this, and I'm not really passionate about something that I'm not educated on.
Sure.
Like if I'm passionate about it, I should be able to put in the work to explain why this is important to me.
Right.
And a lot of things that I'm finding with podcasting is people who are passionate about anything can make something special to you. Even if you don't care about it, the fact that somebody's passionate about it makes it interesting to me.
Right.
Yeah. So building relationships and networks is kind of what I like to do. So I'm passionate about it. So I've developed a skill to be able to do that by educating myself on the things that I'm passionate about.
Yeah. You're passionate about people, I think.
Yes, sir.
And I think that goes to, you're like a family person.
Yeah.
Like you said, you came to Indy to start a family. I know that I've heard that you are real close with your family as well. And I feel like family a lot of times is where we cut our teeth in those hard conversations.
Yeah.
Is that where you first develop this passion for like the interaction of like talking, receiving information, learning, and then maybe repurposing, re-educating, or sharing and educating someone else on what you know? Like, is that where that starts?
Well, for me, that's not where it starts because, and I say that to say because I grew up in a family that I assumed was like every family. I had no idea that my family was as special as it is.
Okay.
And until I surrounded myself with different perspectives and been in different environments and understanding that not every mom is like mine. Not every sister is not like mine. Not every cousin, not every friend that I grew up with where I'm from is like that. I had to understand and work around accepting that these people aren't like what I'm used to. So I had to educate myself on the differences of people.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So, the thing that I can say to draw the similarity is everybody, like, if you meet a person and you be like, hey, older woman, you'll be like, hey, mom. Like, you know, and you know, it's like a loving term.
Yeah.
And I would call people mom because I know my mom as a very loving, mothering, caring figure.
Right.
But you can't do that to just anyone because everybody doesn't have that same kind of characteristics as my mom.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
100%.
You know, so learning that is pretty much how I became the kind of person that was like, okay, I can now that I know that you're like this and I was accustomed to this, let me explain to you how this works.
Right. And how I got to hear from my perspective.
Correct.
Because I think sometimes when we might be doing the misinterpretation or misunderstanding, like when we try to then explain or articulate, hey, this is where I was coming from, that can be shut off because it's received in a way that, wasn't reciprocal or
it's
whatever.
negative, yeah.
And I think the skill then comes in is how do you navigate that rebuttal? Like, are you willing to stay in the conversation, or is it something that, maybe you're not ready to do? And I think that's something that people talked about you, the skill that you have is this ability to be able to welcome people in warmly, but not where you're just throwing softballs up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of this too can be has been formulated by playing professional sports, living a life overseas while doing so, and then not only coming back, but then being involved a lot within cross-country travel. So you're, again, all surrounded by people.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about how those experiences, like what you draw from some of that today that informs how you not only podcast, but how you just navigate community?
Yeah. Just moving to different areas, you have to acclimate no matter what. And I come from a city, Los Angeles, and a time in the 90s where there were rules that you had to live by to live, just to survive. And if you didn't know the rules, then you would not make it. So everywhere I go, everywhere I've been, there's a time where you have to kind of know the law of the land.
Sure.
That's important no matter where you go.
Yeah.
And you don't know it right away. You might not ever get to know it, but if you don't try, you never will.
Yeah.
Right? So I found my journey is here in Indianapolis. I found that for so long, I felt like I didn't like Indianapolis. I thought that I didn't.
Sure.
Because I was comparing it to California.
Sure.
Like Indiana and California. Two completely different states, mindsets, and everything. And I was still the same person, but I wasn't surrounding myself with the culture that I needed.
Right. The culture here, and you're still coming from that area in LA.
Right. Yeah. So what I did was I immersed myself into the inner city, the culture of Indianapolis. Because Indianapolis doesn't represent Indiana.
Sure. Okay.
You understand?
I get what you're saying, but for somebody watching that, even somebody from Indiana that probably lives like where I grew up, an hour and a half north of here, that doesn't really understand what you mean by that. Yeah. Could you elaborate, especially from somebody who's come from LA and had to develop that mindset?
Yeah. So Indianapolis is a representation of a melting pot, I would say. It's a big city, and it's filled with different perspectives, different cultures, different people with different mindsets. Indiana as a state is a monolith. It's a lot of people who look the same, who think the same, who grow up having the same mindset, same religion, same everything. Everything's the same to me as a state, and that's just my opinion.
Sure.
And I was shown Indiana. I wasn't shown Indianapolis when I got here.
Okay.
So it was difficult being the person that I am to receive Indiana.
Sure.
Until I accepted Indianapolis.
Sure. Yeah. So where does that journey start in Indiana? Like, did you get to Indianapolis and then you went out and then you were like, nope, I got to get back to Indy? Or was it like you ended up maybe coming from Chicago and you came down 65, like drove past Valpo, Maryville, like all of, even those places are a little bit more urban than where I grew up, Rensselaer, which is literally cornfield highway. What was that journey like of experiencing Indiana? And then finally, like you said, immersing yourself in Indianapolis and realizing, there is a culture here that I can be a part of that can welcome me into.
Yep. So my journey in Indianapolis or Indiana started in Greenwood, Indiana.
Okay.
And I got a job at Menards. I worked at Menards. And Menards was very, it was important in my journey.
Sure.
Because a lot of the people that I deal with come from that place. A lot of people that I work with today, my entire Follow the Money team is Menards people. So
Okay.
yeah, so it's interesting. But what I found there is that store that I worked in really was a representation of Indiana and not Indianapolis. Okay, so being somewhere every day, surrounded by the people who are and represent Indiana,
Mm-hmm.
allow me to grow and mature in a way that I can accept this mindset. Okay,
Yeah.
I accepted these people for who they were. They accepted me for who I was. We learned together and grew. What happened was, as I become closer with these people, they start to introduce me to different parts of the city. So then I branch out. I go to Indianapolis from the Greenwood area,
Yeah.
and I start to be like, wow, there's other people other than the people that I've been shown and accustomed to for all these years.
Yeah.
And these people are interesting to me. These people kind of remind me of me.
Yeah.
These people kind of think like me. These people kind of are passionate about the same things. So I started to branch out and find friends outside of my comfort zone. And I put myself out there and started to show who I was as a person. And that's when I found, the culture of Indianapolis. And wow, I was very, very happy when I realized that I found that for me. Yeah.
For sure. Thank you for sharing that. It reminds me, so I just went to the season 4 premiere of Naptown Narratives.
Okay.
Anthony Murdoch, friend of the show, he produces this, and the subject was, her name is Transparently Tasha, or her handle is Transparently Tasha on Instagram. I cannot think of her last name at the moment, but it was really good. And one of the cruxes of the narrative was how she's from the South Side, but never went to other places because the narratives that had been fed to her about what was happening on the East Side or what was happening on the West Side was like, oh, well, you don't go there. And same for people on the East and West Side, people don't go to the South Side. And it takes this branching out to be like, oh, well, there are people who are not the same, but think similarly, or we can at least resonate or vibe on a specific level. And I think it's so interesting because you're like, well, I came from Greenwood. It's like, just south of the city. And it's like breaking out of that South Side narrative per se. But it's not just the South Side. It's kind of a city narrative.
Right.
We've been cordoned off into sections. And for whatever reason, we struggle to branch out like you have done yourself. Can you talk about the first, where did you first really find those similarities that you're started to pique your interest in, I could see myself here or staying here with that family that I want to start?
Okay. And for me, my journey is so crazy because it's very black and white. And I mean that literally and figuratively. Because I hung out with all white people when I first got here.
Okay.
That's all that was available to me.
Sure.
That's all that I made available. And I would say when I got to the downtown bar scene, downtown Indianapolis, and met different people with, different ethnicity, then white people with the same mindset that I have, the same morals, the same political views, the same social views. It became different for me.
Yeah.
Because I was becoming friends and having people that I surrounded myself with that I did not agree with on things completely, and I was actually shocked because I hadn't surrounded myself with people before that I could believe would think a certain way, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And it's fun. I had a conversation with my father just last night, actually, and he said something that was profound. And he said, Wayne, I was talking to Anthony. That's his best friend, Anthony, and he was like, I'm really impressed with you and how you handle yourself. And he was like, and I say that to say because we were talking about how many white friends we have. My dad is 69 years old. He's never had a white friend. Never. But he looks at some of my friends here as sons and daughters, so, and it's not because he doesn't accept it. He's just never been in a situation where he put himself in to where he needed a white friend. He worked with white people.
Right.
But everybody who's black code switches. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So it's like we're friends with people that we work with, but we're friends with them at work.
Right. It's more of an acquaintanceship. Like, I know you from there.
And we can be cool as hell at work. We can have a best friend at work.
Yeah.
That we're wondering, why they doing this? Why you voting for that? Why you vote against that? Like, we not all the way there.
Yeah.
And we have to accept that.
Yeah.
And I'm cool with people like that, but that put it in perspective to me. He's never had a white friend. And I have people that I will lay on the railroad tracks for who are white. You know what I'm saying? So, but I needed to meet people who looked like me in this city for me to accept and be able to branch out and to do what I'm doing now.
Yeah. It's wild to me how we can struggle to find community and feel like community can be so scarce in places because it has been kind of systematized that way.
Yeah.
And yet there is community out there if you're willing to look.
You gotta
But there's two sides of the coin. Like, if you have the opportunity and you can push yourself into that zone of discomfort to go look, that's one side of it. And the other side is being able to recognize, oh, well, these sections of the city are like this because we were running highways through black neighborhoods.
Right.
And we were pushing people out of the downtown or pushing people in downtown to make sure that other people felt safe outside of that.
Right.
It's like, why does the city look this way? Why does it? So it's so interesting to me that, so I think of it because I grew up in an all-white town.
Yep.
And I, for the longest time, only had white friends.
Yep.
And the mindset that I developed there was that I was so uncomfortable being Asian that when I got the chance to meet other Asian people, I didn't want to interact or engage.
Yep.
And so it took me 30 years to start to find my way into bravery and brave spaces to be able to start meeting people who maybe looked or thought the same as me or even differently.
Yep.
And yet, when I started to do stuff here in Indianapolis with the show, I'm like, holy shit, there are a ton of people here that think and do and even look the same as me.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting how we get separated and we get purposely or intentionally divided, not even simply from an ideological perspective, but by pure geography.
Yeah.
And just to keep us away from each other.
Yeah. Can I just say this?
Yeah, absolutely.
It is very impressive, and I am super appreciative that you allow us to watch you on your journey to connect with your culture.
Oh, thank you.
That is so dope to me because that's a hard thing to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's very impressive that you're so vulnerable in your message and you deliver it so well. So,
well, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I mean, I learn from folks like yourself. I think that something that you do really well, or not really well, but really intentionally on your show is be vulnerable. And not only that, I love following you on social media because I think you're unapologetic and you are on message, but it's not like a brand or corporatized in some way.
Right.
It's just like, I'm Stretch and this is what I do and this is what I got to say.
Yep.
And I think that type of mindset and attitude is really important for me, especially for somebody operating in proximity to myself.
Yeah.
Because it just reinforces to me to continue to lean into that aspect of storytelling for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so I appreciate you sharing that because without you and without other people in the city like that and people across the country, obviously, doing similar things, I would not feel confident enough probably to pursue it myself.
Yep.
So I appreciate what you're doing in that end.
Right on.
And to that end, I want to ask you about something that might be a little bit vulnerable. As we move towards, I want to get into a little bit more of the podcast stuff as we go forward. But so you're in Indy. When did you first get to Greenwood? Let me start there.
2004.
Oh, okay. So you were here okay. So the story I'm bringing up happened, I think, in 2019.
Okay.
Which is you were in a pretty serious motorcycle accident.
Yes, sir.
Obviously, you're here. You ended up out of that. But as I was doing research for this episode, I did not know that had happened. But what I also did not know, and all of the things that I could find, were stories about you seeking out the Good Samaritans who had came by. And this is the best part. Come on, Stutz. Okay. Who had come by when that had happened and waited with you until the ambulance, until the paramedics and people had gotten there, I believe, or at least called them. The stories were all, I'm seeking these people out, which again, just reinforced to me about like passionate about people, like passionate for people. I was wondering, do you mind sharing, were you ever able to find them and reconnect with them? And after that?
The short answer is no.
Okay.
But I have to say that I'm going to start with, I'm not a very religious person. I mean, I'm not religious at all. I'm very extremely spiritual.
I'm the same way.
And I find that the universe has always taken care of me. And that's why I'm here today. That's why I do what I do, because despite what I may think, I still am favored in a way that I have a mission that I must do because I've been taken care of to this point. But I say that to say, I was in a motorcycle wreck where I ended up on the side of the road. A car hit me, and there were no other cars around. So for a second, I thought I was alone.
Yeah.
And there were 3 people that helped me, and it was 2 women and a young male, and they used my phone to call the ambulance, to call my wife, and to make sure that I was good. And they stayed until the ambulance was there. Okay, and all I remember was I was in pain. I was going to the hospital, and I just I was in shock that this event even occurred. But what I do know that is I wanted to be in contact with these people because they didn't have to do that. They didn't, and I mean, they were laying with me. They were talking to me, keeping me calm. And it wasn't even my idea to reach out initially.
Oh, okay.
It was my sister. So my sister was there the same night that she flew from Vegas to Indianapolis the same night. And I told her what happened, and she said, we need to find these people to thank them. And she said, I had a social media following, so she knew that if she posted something, tagged me or talked about it, it would get out. And when we did that, like all the news outlets hit me up. A lot of friends, a lot of people reposted, shared it. It was everywhere, but no one came. No one, said that they were there. And I know that the universe was just looking out for me. And I know that those people were really there. Right. A lot of people say that they were my angels and things like that, and they were. They weren't there to be praised, or they weren't there to receive anything. So I'm thankful. I will forever be thankful. And if they ever showed their face, they would have a friend and a confidant and a family member in me, because they took care of me in a moment that I was extremely vulnerable.
100%. Well, I appreciate you sharing that. I was talking to John before we came on. I was hesitant to ask you that question, only because I feel like that is a really vulnerable space to re-enter into, because it's not only physically painful, but it's like emotionally, it's something. And so I appreciate you being willing to tap into that. And again, I think first off, shout out to those 3 Samaritans, because without this man here, who knows if I'm sitting here, and who knows how many people in the city are not as connected and not as involved in what they're doing had they not developed this relationship with Stretch. So thank you thank the universe for putting you here to be able to continue to do the good work that you're doing. And again, just affirming this idea of being passionate about people. Like, I don't know that you can find enough people that lean into that aspect of things. Yeah. And I think it just goes to show how your foundation was already set in this idea of community and how in a moment of, like you said, of extreme vulnerability, community, unbeknownst to you, would come in to lift you up.
Right.
I have to imagine that something like this plays at least a small role in wanting to lean into the aspect of storytelling and as you get ready to launch. Because this is, I think, not too far from Follow D Money.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
How often does that come into play? Like, do you draw on that experience ever? Like when you're doing the show or when you are approaching the work that you do? Or is it just like, that's just like one part of my story and I'm continued on.
Are you talking about the motorcycle?
Yeah,
wreck?
just the accident and like, or just how does it play a part in what you do now? Or was it just kind of at that beginning and it's like, we've moved on from here?
Well, I'll tell you, man, what, the wreck was an integral part of me starting the podcast. It was probably if it didn't happen, I probably wouldn't have had a podcast.
Sure.
And George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, all that stuff could have happened and I still wouldn't.
Sure.
And that's because during the wreck, as I'm flying through the air, I asked myself, and I had a moment where I'm like, if I'm going to die, am I going to be okay? Will everybody else be okay? And before I hit the ground, like as I'm still in the air, and it probably took a half a second, but I had a whole moment with myself and my thoughts and my emotions. And I told myself that I was okay to die. I was fine. Like I didn't really have any enemies. I had accomplished a lot in my life. I was good. And I was like, you know what? I don't have anything else to live for. Like, and it wasn't morbid. It was just like
no, for sure.
It was just like an acceptance.
Yeah.
So then I go through the experience of doing that, and I'm sitting in the hospital and I'm thinking, and I was like, for a moment, I was okay to die. Why is that? What the hell have I done? I haven't done anything, but I was okay with dying. And I said, nah, I said, never again. I said, I'm going to live until I figure out what it is. I'm going to accomplish something. I'm going to do something as much as I can. I'm going to be active. I'm going to be out there. I'm going to show up, and I'm going to take opportunities, and I'm going to find what my purpose is, because I wasn't allowed to be gone. And I hadn't been passionate about anything. I hadn't been passionate about sports. I hadn't been passionate about working at Menards. I hadn't been passionate about just being a family man. I was good at everything. I was okay with everything, but I hadn't found my passion.
Yeah.
So I knew at that moment that I was supposed to find what I'm passionate about. And what happened was I was just living my life, man. I was doing more. I was being more present. And the podcast situation came up, and I accepted it, and I loved it, and I immersed myself in that world. And then I felt like this was it. Like, I'm supposed to be a podcaster, but I wasn't.
Yeah.
Because what podcasting did was open the doors and open the minds of people to allow me into the world of networking and building relationships and fostering friendships and partnerships.
Yeah.
So I found it in that, and the wreck started that whole snowball effect with that.
Damn.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. I was kind of like trying to not cry right there for a minute. I mean, it's powerful. That's really, really powerful.
No, I get emotional when I tell that story too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Damn. Okay, we're gonna get into the podcast. I'm just like sitting in this for a second because like everything post-rec, like I can really resonate with like the realization I'm not passionate about the stuff that I've done in my life.
Yeah.
But I do think that I do not want to do a disservice or diminish this moment of like, oh, I've accepted this thing, because you did accomplish a lot. But I think it's so interesting in the sense that like, not like you have accomplished, and also like in your in your deep, like, inner soul, you realize, like, this realization of, like, okay, what does accomplishment actually mean? Like this reframing of like you said, ask on your show, what does success mean to you?
Exactly. I was just about to say that.
Yeah.
Because what we think is success is our own definition, right? Right? So I hadn't even thought about what success was at that point.
Okay. All right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so it's like, I think that I'm successful because I made it out of LA in the 90s.
Sure.
That's a success.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm a father. My kids know who I am. You know, they know that I'm there. I'm successful because of that. But in my humble opinion, if I'm not doing something that I'm doing extra, because I feel like I'm supposed to take care of my family.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm supposed to have a job to where I can survive and eat. I'm supposed to be healthy. Right. Those are things that I have to do as a human being. But if I'm not doing anything to help you, if I'm not doing anything to help the community that I live in to become better to where I feel safe, then I haven't done anything. Because if you don't do more than what you're supposed to do, in my opinion, you're not doing anything.
Right. I love that. That's a clip 100% because it's saying that like you have to do your internal work. You got to work on yourself. You got to like get in touch with like who you are. Do that. That can be considered the bare minimum, even though that's a success. But once you get to that point, that should also be the door opener to realize, I'm part of this huge community of people.
Right.
How can I take now what I know I'm good at, what I'm passionate about, and apply it to the things that I'm connecting with or intersecting with?
And all that works with how I think socially and politically.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? Like, I have to be in a good mindset. I have to take care of myself, period, before I move forward with anything.
Yeah.
And once I get to a point to where I'm good, I'm okay, for me, and this is just how I think, if I take more or if I don't pour into others, then I'm being selfish. That's just how I feel. That's not for everybody else.
Sure.
I don't think everybody needs to think like me, but I think the world needs people who think like me.
100%.
You know what I'm saying?
We need a variety of thinkers. A lot of different thinkers. We need people that are not then applying their thinking into harmful and bigoted ways. We don't need any of that.
Right.
But we need people that can think about on a multitude of levels.
But honestly, we do need that. We do, because how do you get better if you don't know what the gutter is? How do you build off something if you don't know that this person has this hate for you and he's never experienced you? I take pride in making relationships with people who are actually racist or used to be racist or have these mindsets that are so closed-minded and lost, because I can have a conversation with them and explain that we could be cool.
Yeah.
You know, we could be cordial. And you don't have to hate me. We don't have to agree on everything, but I'm okay with those people because it's like a synergy, bro. We need all that to happen. And it sounds terrible. It sounds wishy-washy. But I'm telling you, I've experienced these people. I've experienced them, and I've learned and I've heard their stories, and I understand their perspective. I do.
Sure.
I understand it. But when you are ignorant, and this is something that I say to people a lot. When you are ignorant, to me, you have people who are out there like myself who have a message, and I can help teach. I can provide you with the information.
Sure.
So when I come in contact with people who are ignorant, and those are people that everyone else will call hateful or racist or bigoted,
write them off at least.
You write them off, right? So for me, I provide the information. I provide the perspective. And what you do with that information after that is up to you.
Yep.
But you are no longer ignorant.
Right. You can't claim ignorance for
now
sure.
You're either a hateful person or you're going to be better.
Yep.
So my job, again, I only speak for myself. I never give advice anymore. I don't give advice, man. I tell you how I feel about something.
Yeah.
And you can do whatever you want with it, because we have different backgrounds and different histories. We have different genetic makeup.
Right.
Everything's not going to work, but I can tell you what does work for me.
Exactly.
Yes.
And it's that, and when I tell you what works for me, it's not me telling you have to do it my way. I'm just telling you I can only speak from my own experience.
Correct.
quit asking me to speak for everybody because I can't do that.
Correct.
100%. Man, there's 3 hours of conversation here that we need to get to, and we do not have the time. But this would be a great part two for Follow D Money. So let's move into your podcast.
Yes, sir.
You talked about it on the Gary Brackett show about it being a double entendre. The name of the show.
Yep.
I think it's actually like a quintuple or sextuple.
Okay.
I think it's like, there's D Money, like that's one of your nicknames.
Yep.
Dwayne, that's one of your, that's what that your literal name.
Yep.
You got the money that you're following. You're following you. You're also following the money. You're following the show itself because you want people to follow D Money Podcast on Instagram or wherever they can on social media.
Yes, sir.
There are so many different things like to come up with. Like how long did it take you to land on the name of the show? And when you landed on this name, were you just like, that's it?
Yeah. Man, that process. And to know me is to understand this. It really came immediately.
Okay.
And that's not even a lie. And
I believe it. I believe that.
It's not even a lie. Something I don't know, man. Things happen and I just do it. When we do content and things like that, I like to say that I'm one take stretch because I like to do everything just one time and move on. And that's how my mind works.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Sure.
I just I'm coming from a place of good. I'm coming from a place of caring.
Yeah.
So like everything that I do is from my heart.
Yeah. It's authentic to yourself.
So when I'm saying something, it's very easy and real.
Yeah.
I'm not pretending, so I don't need to keep doing it over and over and over because that first thought is usually how I feel.
Yeah.
So a lot of things that you see online is just me getting my camera, saying it, and posting it.
Yeah.
That's just how it, like Follow D Money literally came from the people at Menards call me D Money most of the time. And I had friends in LA and everything too, but D Money was my nickname there. They didn't call me Stretch. So they called me D Money, and the guy that initially had the conversation with that called me D Money. So we were like, what will we call it?
Yeah.
And I was just like, let's call it I think the first name was the D Money Podcast. And I'm like, nah, I don't go by D Money.
Yeah.
I don't, that's not me. I'm Stretch. Like when I introduce myself, I say Stretch. But I was like, but he said something like, everybody will listen to you. Like who wouldn't follow you on this journey? And I was like, what if we call it Follow D Money? And then he kind of looked and because it sounds weird at first. It sounds like a call to action.
Yes,
it does.
Well, 100% of what I thought the first time I heard it. I'm like, is that the name of the podcast?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds like a call to action, which it is.
Sure.
But I am the person that people would follow, and it's not me asking them. It's just like, walk with me.
Yeah.
Follow me. Like you can follow somebody and be with them and not be behind them. You know? So follow. There's
another meaning, another layer of meaning to the name.
Yeah. So that's really how it started, man. And I was super pumped about being able to explain Follow D Money.
Yeah.
The title. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think in that first season, you can feel the joy in being able to launch this and do this.
Yeah.
And I think in that explanation, you can feel each time you get to talk about the show, which I think is what I love about the show. And now in these more current seasons is because I feel like that's so baked in. Like once you listen to a newer episode, you want to go back and listen to the older episodes because you need some of that, or I guess you don't need it, but that extra context is really important. I think it gives life to the show.
Yep.
One of the things you talked about that you developed in that first season or realized was a skill that you had that you were glad that you had was managing conversations and being able to, navigate where a conversation might be going. That quote was from 3 years ago.
Okay.
You're now, we're 2024. You've got a lot of shows under your belt. What is a skill now that you feel like you've developed over that time? Do you think that's still your top skill, is that managing conversations, or something else that you've tried to or developed in the last 3 years?
Yeah, I think I think my progression has evolved into now I'm more able. If you listen to the first season in particular, I'm really trying to get the story of the people that are on the podcast. Like I really want people to understand them and their story and their journey and their advice and all that. Now I'm in the mode of where I want people to understand my viewpoint. Right. I want them to understand my journey, how I get to these opinions, how I feel about certain things. As it relates to the person that I'm sitting next to. Right. So that's the evolution for me.
I love that.
Being able to have the conversation and exchange ideas instead of putting theirs all out there.
Yeah. I love it. And like gives you opportunity to sit down and get tatted and then talk about numbing cream and, dive into the nuances of the numbing cream. Okay. I have a few more things, kind of like rapid fire things that I want to hit you with before we wrap it up here.
Yep.
The first one, I mentioned it at the top and then we kind of got into it with the name of the show, but you are the man of 1,000 nicknames. You got a bunch.
Yep.
Can you give us your top 3 nicknames that most people don't know that you have?
Okay. So top 3 that they don't know?
Your top 3 that you don't think most people know about. If you're okay
all
to
right.
share.
Well, it's pretty simple because I do have a million nicknames, but the biggest one would be what my family calls me. Okay. They call me Wayne.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's very funny. I know everybody's laughing now, but they call me Wayne. Number 2, my close group of friends, they call me Guns. Guns it's related to my neighborhood, but a lot of my closest friends, they call me Guns. And then when I was playing basketball, they called me the Goods.
The Goods?
The Goods.
Because you had the goods.
I had it all.
Okay.
So the Goods.
Top good in your bag.
The good what?
The top good in your bag.
Oh.
At that time.
I like to, that's the thing. Like I was pretty decent at everything. I was not great at anything, you know? So like I just liked being dependable.
There you go.
Dependable is a good quality to have in sports.
We talk about that a lot now. Availability being one of the top skills you could possibly have, especially in basketball. Okay, thank you for that.
Yep.
Next one, I know you're a big food lover.
Yep.
Especially coming from LA and then coming to Indianapolis, you had to find the food.
Yep.
Can you give us your top 3 hidden gems in the city?
Bluebeard is one of my favorites.
Yep.
I'm gonna say where I go all the time. Like hidden gems. There are a lot of hidden gems, but I frequent Hot Boys. I'm always there. I love Bluebeard. I'm a huge fan of all the galleries, of course.
Yep.
And my favorite steakhouse would be Hyde Park.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my favorite steakhouse.
All right, I'll take it. I thought of that question because you were talking about like a hole-in-the-wall barbecue place that you found, I think, when you first moved here.
Oh, yeah, Hank's.
Okay, there it goes.
Yeah,
Hank's
but it's not
now.
called Hank's anymore. I don't know. Hank sold it, but it's still there. It's right across from the cemetery downtown on Martin Luther King. I don't know the name of it anymore, but I think a woman owns it. But it used to be Hank's, and man, it's still good.
Okay, FKA Hanks. Let's figure out the name of that. We'll try and get that in the show notes here. All right. For you on your show, I've got 3 more questions for you.
Yeah.
I know that at the end of the show, you love to ask a wild question to your guest. So you just posted a story, I think either today or yesterday, and it was the only reason I'm asking you this question. What is the wildest thing anyone has ever said to you about being bald?
Oh, the wildest thing somebody ever said to me about being bald. I think the craziest thing that I've heard is like my coworkers at Southwest, they mess with me all the time, but I got people who always ask me to grow my hair out. And I don't know if y'all know who Krusty the Clown is from Simpsons.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be me, bro. Yeah, bro, I look like a goddamn fool.
Okay, now I kind of want to see that. Now I need AI to create that picture of Stretch.
Yeah, man.
Okay, I like that. You posted that video or something
Yeah,
today. That made me laugh, and I'm like, okay, I got to ask him about that. All right. We have a recurring segment on the show called Give Them Their Flowers, where we ask our guests to shout out a person or persons who they feel like deserves their flowers right now. I normally ask people to give us one person. I'm going to ask you, because we have a mutual friend who works on both of our shows, John Overton.
Yep.
Can you give us a really great compliment about our friend John? Can you give John his flowers right now?
Do I have all the time I have?
Absolutely.
I can say whatever I want?
Yeah.
All right. This is a shout out to my boy, J.O. This man, I've known him for over 20 years, and he has always been like a little brother to me. I've always wanted to take care of him, protect him, and show up for him, and he's done nothing but that for me. And when I started my journey in this podcast, he wasn't a part of it, but he asked to be a part of it because he believed in me. And I get choked up thinking about it, but to have people like that in your life who are not family, I couldn't ask for more, man. So thanks, J.O.
That's a brother right there. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. That's my dude right there. John Overton, Popular Rapture. Hire him for your podcasting needs. Why have you not already hired him? We're working on that. We've been talking about that off air. Stretch, man, it has been an absolute pleasure.
Right
I
on.
wish we had more time because there are a lot more things that I would love to talk to you about. We're going to make that happen at some point.
Right on.
Last thing I ask everybody on the show, how do we follow you? How do we find you? How do we support you after this? What does Follow D Money got going on? What do you got going on? And how do we figure it all out after the show?
I don't know when this is going out, but just recently I'm going to partner with some friends from the artistry realm, Dream, Rob, Revis. We're going to do a toy drive for Christmas. So
amazing.
That I'll have more information about that. I'm really big on giving back to the community, kids in particular. Social medias, man, like I'm mostly on Instagram. So Thalley Boy is my personal. Follow D Money Pod is the podcast. I am always trying to have events and stuff. I just had this idea. It's going to be something that I'm interested in, and hopefully I can share it with you later. But I just want people to show up for others. Yeah. I think it's important that you said give flowers. Like the best way that we can support each other is showing up for each other. And I think when you have a platform and you have presence and you have intelligence and you have a following, like just show up for somebody. You know, when people are doing things, be there. And we always remember who shows up for us.
Yeah.
I'm here because of that, because I showed up for others and then they continue to show up for me. And I could go down the line of people in Indianapolis in this community that have showed up for me, but they know who they are and I thank them a lot. So that's just what I wanted to say.
I appreciate that. No better way to end the show. I feel like I had a joke in there somewhere, but then I lost it because I was just listening to you. And I know it was. It wasn't a joke. Thank you for saying that. Last but not least, you have a fantastic smile. Everybody needs to see you smile because it radiates joy. And man, I can feel the joy here when you're smiling. That's what I was thinking about when you were talking right there.
Man, I appreciate that. Yeah. That's like when I really love that, man. Yeah. I appreciate that. And I think that my smile has gotten me a lot of things in my life as well. For sure. Because it's a very genuine smile. I'm not smiling because I need to make you feel better. I smile because you make me feel good. Absolutely. That's genuine is a great way to put it. I'm like, this dude is happy. Yeah. Like, this dude is happy doing what he's doing. Yeah. So thank you for that. For sure, man. Appreciate you being here. Everybody else, episodes of this show drop every Tuesday, wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Go to conversationpeacepod.com for the archives, for merch, and for all other things that you might have missed. Social media, Conversation Peace Pod on TikTok and on Instagram. And last but not least, we have some really great conversations coming up, as well as some cool announcements about potential live show and some other things at the turn of the year. But before I forget how to speak, and we're going to wrap this up, Stretch Thalley, Mike Lee, John Overton,
Riley. I don't know your last name, but Riley. Appreciate y'all being here. That's the team. Shout out to Madeline and Frida's Flowers for the flowers. Shout out to Pattern Magazine and the Stutz Building for the space. You're going to see us here a lot more in the coming weeks and the coming episodes. But until then, this has been Conversation Piece, and I've been Patrick Armstrong. See y'all soon.